Hey guys, per usual, everything on this channel is for educational purposes only and is not intended as financial advice. So over the past few days, we've lost like 2 billion in market cap. It's funny how I never hear that framed that way. I only hear it framed as like, we've hit 30 billion, we've hit 40 billion, whatever. Something else interesting that's happened, Ripple and Ethereum kind of been jockeying for position here. SegWit's activated on Litecoin. Ripple's due for a hard fork upgrade within a few months. Ethereum's due for a hard fork upgrade. Metropolis. I tried to research what exactly that entails. Metropolis. I really don't know. I don't have a sentence that explains it other than mist browser or whatever. I don't know enough about Ethereum and smart contracts to really care, to be honest, but that's something to watch going forward here in the next few months. And it kind of goes without saying that Bitcoin as well has some SegWit hard fork stuff hopefully happening by November. If SegWit doesn't happen by November, it doesn't mean SegWit's over forever. It just means it's done at the moment as far as being in the queue for activation. It just goes out of the queue. It's just not approved. So let's go to the 4-hour, because this is the 4-hour follow-through. You know the rules. I'm going to put on a pitchfork. If you've never seen any of these videos before, again, I do 4-hour on various top 4, top 5 alts, plus Bitcoin, whatever. I look at all sorts of TA. Any TA I'm talking about, I've explained in videos prior, so they're on the channel. You just kind of have to look for them. Alright. Pitchfork again, this is the Bitfinex low, and you have the post ETF low and the January China high as your other anchor points. And Pitchfork generally this is the buy zone, this is the sell zone, and this is the mean of the trend. Okay, so you can see we've exceeded the mean quite substantially. Up in here, we did not blow past the ultimate overbought parabolic indicator, which would be just straight up from here. So if we zoom in a little bit, you can see we had a nice bounce on both the 50 EMA, which is here, and the 200 is down here. A nice bounce on the 50 EMA, and if I turn on cloud, the 50 EMA generally is also the Tenkin, which is just based on my settings. 2060, 120, 30 for cloud. So you can see based on all of those things, there was a ton of support here. Did I have bids here? No, I did not, but it was all here. The cards were laid out on the table. You could have read into it. That's why I always say, just keep it simple, don't overthink it, and keep your bids always on the Kijun as we're going up. As crazy as it always looks, in a bull trend, the pullback, we had, what is this, 5% or more? Okay, 11% pullback to get to the Kijun. It doesn't always look this perfect. This looks pretty damn perfect to me, as far as this is called a Kijun bounce. It's bouncing on support here. And again, cloud looks great. This was your entry back here. The TK cross price above cloud, everything was bullish. That's old news at this point. If we turn back on everything real quick, the other confluence for support was this diag. Again, when I'm making the pitchfork, it's important that the anchor points actually are somewhere in price and not just in outer space somewhere. Okay. The other thing I'm looking at is does price actually obey the diags? The diags are like longitude and latitude lines on a map. They're not really there in real life. They're just drawn from a human perspective. So you can see here, this is definitely resistance and price definitely pulled back. This was resistance, price pulled back. Hopefully this is support now and price pulls up. That's how it works. Everything else in between, you can sort of explain away. Support here. There are some pitchfork rules that generally say price is either going to zoom through or sit at the median line for a little while before it makes a decision. However you want to take that in. So that's pitchfork on the 4-hour. And again, if we look at the 5200, this is the long entry, when the faster EMA crosses above the slower EMA. We're in no danger of any sort of cross or whatever here. So everything looks good on this time frame for the 5200. If we go to Heikin-Ashi, and I'm just going to repeat this every video, that way when it happens, and because inevitably people are like, this is hindsight. Of course it's perfect. It works out every time. The point is, if we're in a bull trend, your expectation, your bias should be longs will make more money than shorts. Always. Okay, that's why I always try to put bids here versus trying to short this and figuring out where the bottom is. Putting bids on support is rarely gonna, you can catch some knives eventually, but it's rarely gonna mess you up. It certainly messed me up here with the ETF stuff when I was trying to catch knives, but that's besides the point. So you have this this red in the Heikin-Ashi. Heikin-Ashi is a momentum indicator. The general rule for me is when I see it flip from green to red, that's your long close signal. So your long close signal, if you're on leverage, would have been somewhere up here. Flip from green to red. Or if you want to play the stop, your stop could be below the wick of any momentumless candle, such as this. This is kind of a spinning top thing. This is another example of that here. Just a blank doji, just a no momentum one way or the other. Another way you could say that is, if this close on the second candle here is below the previous close, you could use that as a stop. So, on the way up here, this would be your stop, keeps going. This would be your stop, keeps going. This would be your stop. These could also be stops too. Just depending on how often you want to look at the chart, if you're awake, whatever. The point is, this can easily be done. You just have to be vigilant about it. I don't often look at the Heikin-Ashi to really use it the way it should be used. Okay, so that brings us to now. Everything looks bad. Everything looks bad, right? So you're going to wait now for 2, 3, 4 green candles. That's your entry. We'll see if it triangles out here, which it might, and consolidate. I don't know, volume on the index is generally not great to look at as an indicator. But overall, okay, so you're waiting for 2, 3, 4 green candles, whatever it is, that's your buy signal. Another thing to look at with these EMAs is if we break the 50, we may reach for the 200, folks. That's 1436. We'll see. We'll see what happens. There's definitely support here based on this triangle, so you'd get a horizontal, you get a pit stop here for sure before it goes further. And again, this is all confluence of support. Bottom of the cloud is here, 200's here, median line of pitchforks here. As far as chart patterns or harmonics, I don't really see anything here. There might be a loose head and shoulders, but it's pretty ugly if it's there. So that's all I really have for Bitcoin. It's at support, it's bounced. I'm looking for, not on this time frame, but on lower time frames, I'm looking for a TK cross recross. So let's say on the hourly, it's currently below the cloud on the hourly. I'm not going to show it on this video, but just know that it's below the cloud. Okay. Alright, let's go to Vitalium BTC. And in that Bitcoin Magazine article, I was talking about chart patterns a few times, none of which have played out. There was a head and shoulders here with a perfect descending volume profile. That didn't break the 200. There was a cup and handle that failed to break the horizontal. That had a less convincing volume profile, but a descending volume profile towards the end. Then it broke down to the 200. Whether or not the polo stuff was involved in any of this, I don't know, I don't care. Point is, now we have a low time frame Adam Eve. It's evident on like the 30 and the hourly, not so much here, but you can see it loosely. It's basically male, female, harsh and gentle. It's nice that it hit the 200 and it happened on the 200. That tells me support is there, support is real. Should it break the horizontal, you'd expect it to go higher, and you'd also be looking for some sort of volume confirmation. And volume is kind of dead right now on ETH BTC, but again, you're getting this somewhat descending, not as convincing as this or this, where this was clearly consolidation type volume. But overall, everything in here has been support. Everything up here has been resistance. So what I was saying in the article is, you know, should this be real? Expect it to just get to the top of the range and then stuff will just keep happening. As far as the 5200 is concerned, by stuff I just mean ranging. 5200, not really at a point per se where it's gonna cross, which would be bearish, but it's definitely still above the 200, which is a bullish gold standard. As far as trend is concerned, you can see interestingly that the Adam Eve horizontal resistance is met by the 50 here. So target is, there's a measured move target, but really the target's just the previous local high. Real quick, back to Bitcoin, I forgot to talk about this. Now that the local top is firmly established, you can measure out the fibs here. You get a 1618 of 2300. That would be the next target. And it really doesn't matter too much if you measure from here. That's 2400, 2300, 2200, 2100. So between 21 and 2400, pretty easily based on fib extensions. Okay, back to ETH. As far as the cloud is concerned, it's been a bit noisy. This was a good long with a good, somewhat good close, depending on how you use your stops. What you'd be looking for now is price above cloud, which isn't there, bullish TK cross, which isn't there, bullish cloud here, we could get a Kumo twist, which isn't there, and lagging span above cloud above price, which isn't there. So this has 1 or 2 days at least before the possibility of a long is there. So if all of that, if all the cloud signals plus the Adam Eve double bottom, you know, the horizontal's broken, let's say it just pops out here, the best thing always is, it's on my pinned tweet on Twitter as well, but if you, all my stuff's gonna turn on, but see stuff go sideways and then it'll just be like, oh, we're out of the cloud now. Why aren't we moving? What's going on? Josh told me things would happen. But then all of a sudden you'll just see it go crazy. That's really the best case scenario. Another thing you'll see there is the Bollinger Bands will tighten. You know, you'll just get sideways range mode. Now, let me just look at yearly pivots real quick. Oh, and isn't that interesting? So the yearly pivot matches the Adam Eve horizontal pretty nicely. There's all this confluence of entry and support and resistance. If price is above cloud, above pivot, above Adam Eve horizontal, with all your other cloud signals green, you expect price to reach for the next highest yearly pivot, which is also somewhat the local high. And as far as a pitchfork is concerned, let me just see if there's one here. So this isn't pretty, but if you take the March 18th low and the recent low on the 9th with the high on the March 24th, you get this. And again, like I was saying earlier, if you draw the pitchfork, it's got to match points on the anchor. It's also got to look like it makes sense. Resistance, resistance, resistance at the median line. That makes sense to me. Somewhat of a resistance on this diag. If we break this diag, it says we're going to reach for this diag, which is echoed by the yearly pivot. So that all makes sense to me as far as targets are concerned. It's in a somewhat of a sideways bull trend, but it's above the 200, so everything looks okay on that front. So really what you're watching is, you know, all this stuff together. Cloud 200's already fine, so it's not gonna, it shouldn't break that based on this rejection wick of this zone. You should be expecting this to go higher once it's out of the cloud here. And this is Heikin-Ashi again, red candles. You're getting 3, 4, 5, 6 green candles here. Admittedly, Heikin-Ashi is less effective when stuff is range bound like this. You want to wait for the stronger trend before you do anything crazy. But Heikin-Ashi is indicating an entry here. We'll see if this plays out on the next video. Let's go to Ripple, which has made insane gains over the past few days. Let's just draw some things real quick. There was a triangle here, so that's your next support. There was a massive triangle here, which is breaking up currently. There's a nice W, which is breaking up currently. There was consolidation in volume here and here, so that all looks good. We'll just start with Heikin-Ashi. It looks good for up. Heikin-Ashi telling me, again, you know, when you're sideways ranging garbage like this, you're out or you're flat, you know, you're stopped, whatever you are, and then you're waiting for 3, 4 successive same colored, in this case green, candles. Your entry would have been somewhere in here, and now your stop is here, 10966. based on the momentumless candle. It's got an hour and a half on it, but that's where my stop would be should I be long. If we just go to normal candles, nothing that's specifically popping out at me. There might be a lower time frame harmonic here based on the W that I drew. And I'm not going to bother drawing it out here though. On the 4 hour, you can see all the way back in March, the 5200 crossed, and it's been nothing but smooth sailing since then. It's had multiple waves within waves. So you're getting 1, 2, 3, 4 here, and then consolidation. You got 1, 2, 3 here, arguably more on lower time frames, you know, here or here. So I'd expect this to keep going. As crazy as that is for Ripple, it's sort of on a larger scale to a 3 drives. So if we get these 3 drives in like 3 bubble tops, sort of. Basically the third drive is somewhat equidistant from the second. You can see here it sort of looks similar, should look similar. It doesn't have to be this exact point, but this would be the resistance you're looking for up here. This would be your hard stop if you were accumulating a short in this zone, and then your target would be the 50% fib. So I'll publish this. This is like months out, if not more, maybe a month. This is a 4-hour time frame, so maybe a month or a month and a half on this 3 drives. You can see it hasn't hit its second bottom yet, but this would be a good, this 9252, good support level, I think, based on the rough sketch of the fibs. Let's see where this is. Okay, that's the 50. All right, so that's Ripple. The cloud's just gonna look blown out because it's insane. Shut all this off. Yeah, not much to say. Kijun bounce, targets are whatever at this point. It's just gonna keep going until it stops. There's no end in sight. Cringe. It's Ripple. And if you really want to pitchfork on this, you can draw something like this. It's pretty noisy up here to be valid, but it's certainly possible. So these would be your targets. This is the median line of the trend. That's what you'd be looking for as a high probability touch or consolidation area. Go to Woke Rock, Litecoin, and you can see the cross happened on March 17th, 5200. It's been nothing but smooth sailing. It's had a few dips below the 50, hasn't even touched the 200. It's definitely due, I guess a touchdown here. It's definitely due for a touch. It's got a nasty double top on it with a nasty bear div that sort of played out already. You can see a higher high in price, lower high in momentum. If we go to the cloud, cloud's pretty noisy. Entries look okay. Entry here, not really printing an exit yet. The entry here is a little noisy. Overall, the cloud has sort of held it up, much like the 50 has. This isn't exactly anything I want to go in on at the moment. I'd be waiting for the cross-recross on the TK to look for a really strong entry on the 4-hour time frame. If we go to Heikin-Ashi, again, kind of range-bound here. The candles support the cloud as far as not wanting to be long here. You know, they're red. You want green candles. You want, you know, 2, 3, 4 green candles before you take it long. There might be a harmonic here. Let's measure this one out. So when I look for these, I just look for double tops, double bottoms, and sort of a point in the middle to draw. And I just went 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the 5th point you determine based on this number here. And for that, you have to look at it. I have to look at a cheat sheet anyway. I don't memorize any of this stuff. I just know it's either 886 or 272. And you can see of all these patterns, this is where C is higher than A. Okay, great. The numbers line up roughly. With crypto, you know, the people who do this stuff all day are gonna be triggered by how crude this is, but in crypto, stuff's sort of there even when it's not exact. Alright, so if we draw the 2 possibles here, this is what it looks like, and your support would be there and here, and you can measure your stops as well. The support's here and here. Your bounce targets would be 50% in both cases. Just draw this here. So this bat or whatever this is, the names are relevant to me, is more likely. Again, I'm just looking at this number here. 886 is what you want. 1.272 is what you want. Bounce targets would be the 50% fib from top to bottom in both cases. Then lastly, if we look at the least conservative fib extensions from local top to bottom, this is what we get. 027, 033, 034, something like that. Those would definitely be the targets. And just like the pitchfork, with these fibs and fib extensions, you want to see if the prior fibs match up with anything. This can be thought of as curve fitting, but really you're just making sure that these imaginary lines are meaningful in some way. Are they support and resistance? So you can see resistance, support, resistance, resistance, support, support, resistance, support, support, resistance. Okay, yeah, this is obviously resistance because it's a local top, but you get the point. It makes sense. Okay, I can trust that this should project accurately into the future. That's all I have for today. Like, dislike, comment, share, subscribe. Hit me up on Twitter at Carpe Noctem. Hit me up on Telegram, Carpe Noctem. I'm on One Broker, Carpe Noctem. And happy trading.